Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Keeping It Social. My name is Christian Salas. I am Associate Professor of Social Work here at El Paso Community College. So our aim here at Keeping It Social is bringing forth different issues that pertain to our borderland, our region, our home. And that pertains anything from homelessness to voting rights. And for example, today, talking about business, entrepreneurship. The aim of Keeping It Social is not to cause or bring any political issues, any one-sided affairs. At the end of the day, we simply want to keep it social. Today, we have a very special guest, a homegrown and a huge part of what makes El Paso great. And our guest is Miss Chelsie Evaldi, owner and creator of Chuco Relic. Chelsie, welcome to the show.
Hi, Chris. Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Excellent. Well, I'm sure that our audience would be elated to find out a little bit about yourself, right? So I didn't want to just simply read a bio of who you are and all the accomplishments that you've done, and especially with Chuco Relic. But why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I actually grew up in Juarez. We always came to school in El Paso, so crossed every day until I was in 8th grade. And then went to Burgess. That's how we know each other. Go Mustangs. And then I left, after college I left for 10 years. And I thought that I wasn't going to come back. But then being gone for so long, I realized that El Paso is a really amazing city. And during that time, I just kept growing more and more fonder of El Paso, just falling in love with it and wanting to come back and kind of change the perspective of the narrative of what people thought of El Paso. And so I thought people need to know that it's just an amazing city. We're very community driven. We help each other, you know. So I came back just kind of with that intention. I did get to travel a bit, and all of that traveling, I got to live in Europe for 6 months, and all of that traveling helped me to establish, you know, my business and my love and my passion for El Paso.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we hear echoed amongst people that leave El Paso, right? Mm-hmm. That you miss it. Mm-hmm. I know when I travel and I go out for conferences and such, flying back or just driving back, you see the mountains, mm-hmm. and you just know you're home, mm-hmm. right? There's something about the mountains. I get something in the water.
Yeah.
But tell us a little about your education. I know, full disclosure, yes, we did go to high school together. So go Mustangs. But tell us a little about your education and your background. Kind of what drives, maybe what drove your passion to what you study or what you studied.
I did business marketing in college, and I honestly did it not really knowing where it would take me, just knowing that I am a good problem solver and that I wanted to make money. So I didn't go into it knowing and my end goal is this. So it just worked out in a way that I did end up, you know, using my business degree for my business. But it was never, I mean, honestly, while I was in business college, something that they tell you is 80% of businesses go under after 5 years. And I remember thinking I'm not special. I'm not going to be one of those 20% that does better than everybody else. And so just starting a business really never was an idea that I even had in college. So it's something that has just kind of evolved with life and experience. And I feel like I'm meant to be doing this, just how it's worked out for me.
Excellent. So, where did that passion for entrepreneurship, for marketing, for business, where did that start for you?
Well, I've always, like I mentioned, I've always been a problem solver. And so even in the jobs that I had, my first job was Peter Piper. And I would think it would be way more effective if we did things this certain way. And I remember bringing it up to my manager at the time, and he was just like, okay, whatever. And didn't listen to me. And I was like, okay. And then I started working in other jobs, and I would always just find the problems and think, if we only did it this way, it would be so much better. It would be way easier. It would be more effective. And really, I was always brushed off. And it was very frustrating for me that I had these great ideas, but I couldn't move forward with them. I was all being held back by my, corporate jobs, you have to kind of stay in line. And then again, my ideas sometimes were too big that other people couldn't see them the way that I did. And so from there, I thought, well, then I need to start something myself. Like, I need to do it on my own. If I feel like I have these ideas, and I feel like they will work, I was really confident in them, then I should be able to do it. And so with Chuco Relic, I actually worked at Visit El Paso before. So it was in advertising El Paso and letting people know the tourism of El Paso. And so I had great ideas there too, and it was just kind of like, no, well, it's not within budget and things like that. And so I just kept having these ideas sitting in the back of my head. And one thing was we'd get a lot of tourists, and they'd ask us, where can I go get a souvenir? And it was like Walgreens, Walmart. And I love going to farmers market, and we have so much great talent in El Paso that are creating amazing things that they would only be able to get those things if they came on the weekends or if there was a market, right? So if they were coming during the week, they couldn't get to experience the art that creates El Paso, that really represents El Paso. They were getting just generic photos and things like that, shot glasses. So that was just my first kind of light bulb that went off, like, we need souvenirs in El Paso. And it kind of is the thing where when you're in that industry, in the tourism industry, well, you're hearing it a lot, right? But if you're out of it, people are thinking, there's no tourism in El Paso. What are you thinking? A souvenir store? And I got that a lot. I did. I got a lot of people that were saying, it's not like we're a destination city like LA. But I was hearing it a lot in my job. And so I thought, well, there's a need for it, so I know that it could be successful. There's potential there. Right.
Yeah, and that's a couple of points, right? That it always starts with potentially that it might not be something that might be visible to everybody, right? But it takes that one person, or it takes that group of people to have that vision, or really to say, like you said, there's an opportunity here, right? You touched on something about the talent that's in El Paso, and the notion, or I guess the concept that's always talked about, is the brain drain, right? That there's so much talent in El Paso, but then because of the lack of opportunity or the lack of resources, basically the lack of a lot of things, people end up leaving, right? And I recall you talking somewhere about saying how you felt that even living in Austin, in some places, that this probably wouldn't have worked in any other place but here, right? And so touch on that as far as, again, that talent that's here, how to harness the talent that we have here in El Paso, and what is it about El Paso that made it work?
Yeah, I think that to start a business in El Paso is just a really great place because, again, we have that sense of community. And so, of course, when you start a business, first you go to your family, right? And it's going to be your family that's going to support you at the beginning. And then, of course, they're not going to buy every single thing you come out with. So then from there, your family telling friends and family, and then going out to markets. That's something that I did. I did a lot of markets, and I feel like people were really related to what I was selling, but also my passion about it. I wanted them to understand, like, these are the shirts, this is how it relates. And I would also share information about the history of El Paso, or, Chuco Relic, why Chuco, the story of the word Chuco. And so connecting with the customer, and then they started showing up for me in big ways, and making sure during the pandemic, I had customers that they were showing up and just telling me, what, I'm purchasing for you because I want you guys to get through this. And so then there was like a coin shortage, and I had a customer we didn't even ask the public or anything, but a customer came with like a huge bucket of coins, and she said, I don't want you guys to be affected by this. These are all my coins. Wow. And so that sense of community just really helps you thrive. And I've seen it even on FitFam, where businesses are saying like, hey, right now we're going through a difficult time, and people show up and sell out the product because we want to make sure that we're all succeeding, right? And helping each other succeed. And that's different. I think we think that it's normal how we show up for each other, but I didn't experience that or feel that in all the other places that I lived. I only felt that here in El Paso, where I know that people will show up for me if I'm struggling, or if I'm having even a big event and a celebration like 915 Day. We had 915 Day, and we were expecting 200 people, and we had 600 people show up. And just those little things that push you and help you be more successful, and the community really just saying, like, I feel like they're cheering me on and saying, you got this. And I feel like that's how other businesses are felt as well with their customers.
Definitely. And I think you touch on even a bigger part of that is, one thing is your passion for it, right? But then that passes on to not only your employees, but then also to the people, the customers, right? And that they see you as not just someone just peddling a product, right? That you're just not someone, I'm just here to make money. No, you really do care about the community. And I've seen the events that you do, like the farmers markets, or even just the it's like Chuco markets, right? That you guys put on like on Saturdays, or that like 915. You spearheaded an event where I believe you guys went through a bunch of different El Paso owned establishments.
Yes.
And you did a tour of the murals, the El Paso murals. So it's not just about a product, but like you said, connecting people with the product, with the community,
right?
And showing again the beauty of not just El Paso, but its people.
Right. Yes. Yeah, I think that's important. I've never been, just like, of course I appreciate the money because I want to pay my bills, and I have kids, of course that's a great part of it. But I think in a sense, I have always felt like it's like a circle. And so, I mean, the community shows up for me and I show up for my community. So we have different shirts. Like, for example, this shirt we donate to the PDN Foundation, which helps kids with special needs. And so we have 8 different shirts that we donate back to the community. And so it's just important for us to be, where it feels like it's a partnership, where the community shows up for us, and when they show up for us, they're also showing up for El Paso. And because we go and in return with what they're helping us with, we go and help different organizations. And I think that that's the best way that business can be done. I mean, of course, that's my business model. People that are successful have other ways of doing it, but that's the way that I feel fulfilled and happy with the way of running my business. And having my employees also feel like what they're doing is important. It's helping the community. It's not just, like you said, peddling product. Like, no, actually, each T-shirt has a story. How the artist went through creating the product, and who the funds go to if it's a nonprofit shirt, or how long we've had a shirt, how the shirt came about. Because some shirts have come about from personal stories, or from even my kids have little sayings like "Ta chida mi vida." My son came up with that. Okay. He said that one day, and I was like, that needs to be a shirt. And so it's connecting people with the product as well.
Excellent. Yeah, I bought that shirt for my little boy, so he was showing his cheetah life at daycare. But again, it talks about the importance of a business being there for. Granted, you have your multi-billion-dollar corporations that's nationwide, right? So they're there to fit a purpose, right? A convenience store, you got to go buy groceries and so on and so forth. But these niche establishments like yourself, a souvenir place and such, like you said, it's easy for a business like that to fold, right? But it's building those relationships. And I think that's something that's important for people to understand when looking at creating a business or opening a business, that it's not just, here's my product, come get it. It's really building and fostering those relationships with the people that your customers. And it's not just a customer what's the word, producer relationship. It's more of an actual interaction with people, right? That they, like you said, that they want you to be there, that they want to see you succeed. And it's not easy, but what I'm guessing, it's not something that's just done overnight.
Right. It's not. It's a lot of, there's been a lot of times that I'm like, this is it. Like, this is the end of my journey, because there is a lot of moments that you feel like you can't get past. And I've always said, one step at a time, like just put one step forward. You know, I don't need to make sure, or I have big goals, right? But I don't need to be there right now. I just need to focus on this problem and just get past this one step. And so that has helped me. I also have a really great team that is really invested in the business, and that helps, right? But in return, I'm invested in them. I really make sure that my employees are happy and taken care of. And so it's in a way that helps grow the business. And in those tough moments that you feel that you are not alone, that, you know what, and I need to show up for my employees as well, right? And so, and also a lot of like learning, a lot of YouTube, because there's been moments like, for example, Square recently, I don't know if a lot of people knew about, they just had this shortage of, we couldn't process transactions, and it became a bigger mess than just that one day with our transactions. And so it was pivoting and finding a solution for it. And so we had to move over to a whole different platform, move everything over. And it was a big undertaking, but the team was really like, okay, let's do it. Let's go ahead and do it. And where I felt really overwhelmed, but they felt like, okay, yeah, we can do this. You know, it didn't feel as big. And there's other times where I feel like this is easy, and the team feels like, oh my God, this is really huge thing. And so I think just having those right people, hiring those right people, and, you know, making sure that you invest in them is important. I think that a lot of the times we forget that our employees are people, and I see it in a lot of businesses that they're just doing their job and the bare minimum. And that's what I want people when they come to Chuco Relic, that they have a different experience. I tell them, treat them like your tios and your tias, like your cousins. It's a family. Like we want to know why they're here, and we want to know what brought them around. And like you shared your experience about that mug, like we want to go above and beyond and make sure that if a customer comes in looking for a product, that we make sure we some way or another get it for them. And I know we have a lot of customers that will attest to that we have driven it, we delivered it to their house, or making sure that they're getting the product that they want, and that customer satisfaction is really important.
Excellent. Well, man, that's a great way to get this conversation going. If you'll indulge us, we'll be right back. This is a great start to our conversation about entrepreneurship and getting a business done here in El Paso. When we come back from our short break, we'll dive into maybe some of the resources, kind of someone who might be interested in starting their own business, right? What were some of the steps that you took, and maybe some of the resources that you might be able to share with them. But we'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you enjoyed your break. Again, our guest today is Ms. Chelsie Evaldi, owner of Chuco Relic. Chelsie, welcome back.
Happy to be here.
So the first half we talked about, in essence, what makes Chuco Relic great, right? Your experiences, kind of what led you to where you are now. And so I wanted to touch now on the second half of our show on what helped you, right? What were some of the steps that maybe some of our viewers that are interested in or have that idea, like you said, right, that they keep on getting shut down, and they might want to take for lack of better terms, that plunge, right, into entrepreneurship, into owning their own business. So if you can lay out kind of how that got started, right? How did you go about bringing to fruition your ideas that you had and creating, this wonderful product that is Chuco Relic now?
So the first year was really difficult because, just any first year of business is difficult. And something that I realized, and I listened to a lot of podcasts, and one of them is How I Built This. And I think it's really important to immerse yourself in hearing other people speak about business or even what they're doing to be successful. So when I would listen to the different podcasts, it would just keep me motivated. But during that first year of business, it was just really hard because we sometimes wouldn't see any customers at all throughout the day. We'd be there, and I say we because my son was one at that time, and so it was him and I. We'd show up at the store, be there 10 to 6, and no one would walk in. And it really makes you question what you're doing. What am I doing here? No one even knows about us. No one is even coming in. And it's really too easy to get yourself down and kind of in a hole with that and say, you know what, I made a mistake. It's easy to back out and say, I made a mistake. Okay, I'm just going to go pedal back and not do this. But something that I said was, you know what, I'm going to show up 110 for a year. I have to give it a good year. And I can't, so if it doesn't work out, I could at least say that I tried everything possible. So during that time, I showed up to every market. So I was opening the stores Monday through Thursday, and I had an employee, Andy, who's been with me since 2015. And so I would do markets, he would stay at the store, or sometimes we'd have to close the store to do markets, but I felt like I had to be where the people were because they weren't coming to my store. And so I would work the stores on the weekends, do markets, and I would listen to the customers, listen to what the feedback they were telling me. Oh, I really like this, but I don't like this part of it, or I like this, but I don't like the material, and listening to every feedback that they were giving me, and with the small things that they would tell me, making those changes. And I was also really loyal to our hours. If we said we were open 10 to 6, we were open 10 to 6. Even if no one came from 10 to 3, I wouldn't say, well, I'm just going to close up. Right. I would stay till 6 because sometimes it would just be one customer that would come in at $5.50 and buy $200 worth. And it was like, okay, well, at least I made $200 today. Right. Like that, it makes the day worth it. And there was several times that would happen, And so it's constantly showing up. In the beginning, you just have to really believe in your dream and the business way more than anyone else, because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be telling you, you're crazy, a souvenir store in El Paso, you're crazy. And so then after that, when we got the opportunity to move to Montecillo, because we started at downtown, we moved to Montecillo, and just the location was important. They say location, location, location. It's really true. Having a location that was popular, that was trendy, and so that really helped us. And the right customers were coming in, because we had customers that were coming from out of town that were just visiting to get a bite to eat at Malola or get a coffee, and then they would walk over to us. And that helped with word of mouth and we would make sure that every customer who had their experience was memorable enough that they could tell other people, like, oh my God, I'm going to tell my niece, I'm going to tell my nephew. And that way we could attract more customers with low budget, because we had a very low budget. We didn't have a marketing budget. We were the marketing budget, right? And so after that, we grew where I was able to expand to our central location, and it's right off of I-10. And by then we've had already been in business for 4 years. And so we've already been is somewhat established. And from there, again, just hiring the right staff and making sure that we're going above and beyond for the customer. I feel like sometimes we make it bigger than what it is, and it is easy to get overwhelmed because there's so many moving parts, right? So it's like creating the shirt and creating a design, and you're thinking for the whole community, for what will they like? And then going from there, okay, well, from this design, putting it in the store, purchasing all the investing and purchasing all the t-shirts, and then from there coaching your team to sell it, right? So making sure that all the parts are great, like well-oiled moving parts, right? And not, and finding if there is a part, I feel like we all know, and even business owners know what their weakness is, and admitting to it and leaning into it and saying, okay, I'm not good at this, so what can I do to do better at this? So like accounting is not one of my strong suits, and for me it's watching videos, podcast, anytime that I don't understand something, figuring out, okay, well, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing, and figuring out like, and having conversations with other people, like, what are you doing in this aspect, or how did you get through this? And making sure that you don't just let your weakness like kind of push it back and think, well, I'm good at this part and I'm not good at this part. No, whatever you're not good at, like working on that as well, and making sure you're at least a little bit knowledgeable about it. I think, but in the end, from knowing all these other entrepreneurs that have started with me and that have started even after, the ones that are the most consistent are the ones I feel that have become the most successful, that they continuously are showing up and you see that they're doing the most because the community, again, recognizes it. They say, oh my gosh, they're everywhere, or I hear about them a lot, or, you know, and you see their hustle, and the community rewards that. They really do. They notice it and they say, oh my, yeah, I've been hearing about this business, this restaurant, and they support it. And so it's really important in the end to be consistent with your hours, with your product, with your customer service, so that when customers come in, they're not getting different things on different days.
Right. And that's a great way of putting it. And from the very get-go, what I hear you saying is, it starts off with, it's going to take time, right? That it's not only is it going to take a while for anyone to grow a business, but then at the same time, it's going to take your time, right? That it's not, like you said, if you say you're going to be open from 8 to 6, it has to be 8 to 6, right? And that's just the time that you're at the store. Then there's what you're doing in the background for the marketing, for your business meetings, for your own development, right? So there's going to be a time commitment outside of your business hours, whatever that might be. Any last words, I guess, that you would say that you could tell our viewers, and again, people that might be wanting to start their own business or might have that idea, that tinkering in their head?
If you have an idea and you think there's a reason or there's an opportunity, go for it. I know it's so easy for me to say it, but it's really important that you realize that it's unique to you and it's there for a reason. So go for it.
Definitely. Great words to end with. And again, you know, that taking that leap of faith, if that means coming back to EPCC and looking at our small business office, looking at different resources that are available to you, taking an accounting course, taking a business administration course here with us at EPCC, by all means, you can look up any of those programs and any of other classes and departments at the EPCC website, epcc.edu. Chelsie, thank you very much for joining us again.
Thank you for having me.
And again, for all our viewers out there, if you have any questions, any suggestions about either this show or any suggestions for future shows, by all means, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself. Again, Christian Salas. My email is csalas, S-A-L-A-S, 69 at epcc.edu. You can also watch this and other recordings of Keep It Social, along with the other great shows brought to you by EPCC TV at the EPCC TV YouTube channel, and that address will appear right below. Again, thank you all for joining us. And again, at the end of the day, we can have hard conversations, we can have great conversations. Just keep it social.